Hi, this is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting from warm, sunny Colorado. I'd like to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to spend the next 20 minutes with you. And I'd like to talk a bit about the continent of Africa and how Africa has been involved in the cryptocurrency industry for some time. As many of you know, the heart and soul of many of the efforts we've done here at Input Output have been focused on a Pan-African approach. We started in countries like Ethiopia, but since then we've branched and branded out many different places. We have personnel in South Africa. We've been running a very large microfinance effort in Kenya, and we've had the opportunity to meet many heads of state, including the president of Burundi and the president of Zanzibar, amongst others, throughout the continent over the last 6 years. And we're really excited to watch how this continent has transformed. Over $125 billion of transactions just last year to this year, from July of 2023 to June of 2024, have been moved around in the cryptocurrency business. And there's already 3 unicorns, KuCoin, Scroll, and BitGet, have all emerged from African companies. So it's really exciting and extraordinary to see how Africa is warming up. Nigeria is the second largest country adopting crypto in the entire world, and it continues to grow, especially on the stablecoin side. So a lot of people ask, what is our strategy for Africa? In the beginning, we started with a focus on government adoption, and we thought that you could do business to government to consumer. And so we looked at countries like Ethiopia, we did some projects there involving Atala Prism, and the hope was to try to construct a national ID system that would have a payment system and then eventually a cryptocurrency layer. And this would be the way to push DeFi and crypto adoption to people. The challenge here is that politics can be unstable at times. And unfortunately, the governments in many cases lack the ability to push to the edges solutions to their citizens. So we reoriented our strategy about 1.5 years ago, and we established a company under the leadership of our Director of African Operations, who's now the CEO of this company, called RealFi. And RealFi is a very exciting company because it changes things and moves it into the consumer market directly. So what we do is we aggregate microfinance firms together, and then we work with them to standardize the loan tapes, standardize the credit data, and standardize the way they go about microfinance operations, and then provide capital aggregation on the other side. So I personally pushed $5 million of my assets through RealFi's network, and we've deployed those loans with 3 different partners in Kenya. And we're now studying how they are being repaid. And so far, the data is absolutely extraordinary. Traditional microfinance, it has a non-performing loan rate of about 40%. Our NPL rate is actually 2%. So we have significantly higher quality partners and products. And as a result of those higher quality partners and products, what we've been able to do is gain a better insight and understanding of how to create a multi-sided microfinance market. That's kind of the first stage of our efforts in reorienting the way we interface with Africa as a whole. Our longer term vision is, once these marketplaces are established, to start integrating Web3 rails into the process, in particular stablecoins on Cardano, and using the Atala Prism framework, now Hyperledger Adentis, to provide self-sovereign identity to all of the participants in the framework. What these participants will do is will gradually get into the cryptocurrency industry. Instead of working with a local partner and repaying in cash a 30 to 90 day termed loan, they will actually be able to repay using a cryptocurrency wallet, using a stable coin, and be able to better manage the local volatility of local currencies. And then going from Kenya, syndicating the solution across the entire continent of Africa, as well as Latin America and Southeast Asia. And we've already been discussing with many partners about how to do this and how to open this up. On the capital side, actually go from institutional investments and high net worth investments, actually exposing this to the retail side through structured products, real world assets effectively in the cryptocurrency space running on Cardano. So it's a different strategy, but what's nice is it's direct to the consumer. It's Pan-African. It doesn't have a concept of a national border, and it leverages the fact that there's been enormous adoption of stablecoins throughout Africa as a whole. I'd love to get involved in other domains. We have great partners. For example, World Mobile is one. And there are other partners that are looking at decentralized physical infrastructure. One of the big problems in places like Africa and places in Latin America and Southeast Asia is there's still some infrastructure gaps, especially in connectivity, energy production, and basic infrastructure of transportation. And what this translates to is an economic disadvantage and the inability to fully integrate with the cryptocurrency industry as a whole. We kind of live higher on the stack, and you have to build up the stack in order to get people where they need to be. Which is why a lot of people focus on things like fast-moving consumer goods or short-term products, as opposed to trying to build out these long arc product relationships. Well, connecting the unconnected is just as important as banking the unbanked. And what's nice is once these networks mature and materialize, in addition to funding of the individual, they can be used for cooperative funding for decentralized physical infrastructure. So once you have a microfinance base, instead of providing a loan to set up a business or to be able to help people get a bridge to pay their rent or their phone bill, eventually, collectively, communities can come together basically as DAOs, and they can use those to buy up infrastructure that they can own and operate as a community, whether that be energy infrastructure or that be telecommunications infrastructure or other such things. And the power of this is then you have your physical infrastructure being community owned and operated, and you have your physical infrastructure being financed by the same rails and mechanisms that we built out for the microfinance world, which means you, regardless of where you live, Europe, America, China, wherever things can get supported, using complete cryptocurrency rails, can invest in construction and be a partner of the growth of physical infrastructure to connect the unconnected and to bank the unbanked and to get people where they need to go in life. It's fun and exciting to work in places like Africa. It's difficult at times because the rules are a little milky, and in some cases the rule of law is not where it needs to be, or a civil war breaks out or another problem occurs. And we felt this sting in Ethiopia. When we signed up our original deal there, the prime minister had won a Nobel Peace Prize, and there was big promises of opening up the economy and working with people. And then in short order, there was a civil war with the TPLF, which shut the entire country down, strong capital controls, and unfortunately the promises of deconsolidation, deregulation, and privatization and the embrace of crypto never materialized. But that didn't diminish our appetite to operate across Africa. It just meant that we now have to embrace a more direct relationship with people. These are the lessons of BitPesa, and these are the lessons of many businesses that are very successful, whether they be ShopRite or others who have a pan-continental view. And so our view is, let's build products by and for the people with local partners, and let's work together as one large family. Our time in Africa has also led to tremendous innovation. We are developing new identity protocols to layer into Hyperledger Identitas as a direct consequence of the years of developing identity solutions in Ethiopia. We think that they can now be targeted towards reputation and credit and be put in a self-sovereign capacity as much as they can for just basic identification like KYC and AML. Our time in Africa has also put some great business requirements and had to start thinking around how would we build decentralized networks of low-cost ATMs. In fact, it's a personal passion of mine. How do you construct a micro banking unit, just like physical infrastructure for World Mobile or other partners, that you can use in a community so people can put cash in, get crypto out, put crypto in, get cash out, and these become micro banking hubs. It would be a lot of fun to have an X Prize for an open source ATM that's low cost to make and easy to connect to things like Starlink, so that you're able to conduct your business regardless of who you are or where you are. These are the kinds of things we think about on a pretty regular basis. So we'll continue growing RealFi. Next year is really the year it's going to come into its own. This year we spent an enormous amount of time refining the product, building the institutional rails, getting the funding structure set up, putting our own money into it. Next year is the time that the company really opens up. And I'd encourage you to go to realfi.co, realfi.co, to learn more about what John is doing. And as we open it up, not only will we add the Web3 rails in, but we'll also go pan-African. So we'll start adding more countries, and we'll start consolidating more loan books. And then eventually it's going to work its way into other infrastructure. As you know, I'm a big fan of Kiva, and I really enjoy and love what they've been able to accomplish throughout the years in the microfinance market. And I always wanted a Kiva-style interface for Lace. So one of the things that will come into LACE in the coming years will be a lending marketplace that allows everyday people, once they upgrade their wallets to a premium version, so they go through a compliance step, to be able to work with LACE to provide loans to people throughout the world. This is the vision. Decentralized finance, decentralized participation, allow people to have a direct relationship, and then broaden the things that you can start funding. And you can start with the loans and work your way to decentralized infrastructure. These are the things that really are going to make things special and exciting. So it's a nexus of innovation. There's a tremendous amount of great entrepreneurs there. In 2025, Africa is also integrating itself in many more ways in the Cardano ecosystem. Already 400 people in Africa across 8 countries and 9 workshops have directly participated in the Constitutional Convention of Cardano. 8 sets of delegates, 18 delegates with 9 workshops from 8 countries are going to go to Argentina coming in December to participate in the drafting of the Cardano Constitution. So already a very substantial representation of Africa relative to Europe, America, and other places is involved in the governance and government of Cardano. And these are leaders who will come back to Africa and are already excited about starting businesses and building infrastructure, and they will form hubs of excellence. So we're really excited to see Aiken training courses, university partnerships, DREPs, and constitutional committee members come from the African continent, and for Africa to be well represented in the annual Cardano budget, which is currently being drafted and will be voted on likely Q1 of next year. So that means that Africa is an indispensable part of the Cardano story, and it's part of the Cardano family. It takes time and effort. You have some failures, you have some successes, and you have to always learn and be humble along the way. This has always been a long arc endeavor. It's always going to take time and effort to be able to figure things out. And people have to educate and learn. But we have the time, because this is not a mission of making a token price go up or getting a little bit more adoption here and there for a vanity headline. This is about fundamental transformation of the social contract of civilization, new economic, political, and social systems. And the places that have the strongest appetite for this are places where those social contracts haven't worked as well as people have needed them to. So when you look at places that don't have sound money, or there's some difficulties with the rule of law, or a lack of direct foreign investment, or an inability to globalize, or predatory globalization, these are the places where cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology have always fared very, very well. The difference about Cardano from the rest of the blockchain infrastructure is it is truly decentralized. It's by and for its users and by and for the people. And given the fact that already 8 countries in Africa have participated on equal standing with Germany and France and the United States and Japan and South Korea and other places, it shows a true commitment to bringing the entire world together. From input-outputs viewpoint, we will continue to build products, and our products will continue to get more refined and more specialized, and we have to pivot and learn as we grow. But I think with RealFi, we really have figured out a way to operate responsibly, effectively, and quickly in Africa. And I think we can end up getting millions, if not tens of millions of customers throughout the world, and every single one of them can get upgraded to have self-sovereign identities, cryptocurrency wallets, and to be cryptocurrency natives. As they come in, we can also teach them why Cardano is special and have them participate in Cardano's governance and eventually build blockchain-based businesses. They're part of a bigger world now, and there's a lot of learning that's coming through. That's the excitement and promise, and it took a long time for us to get here. Cardano was formed 9 years ago and has been live 7 years. It seems like an eternity for me. The reality is we're less than a decade old, and if we continue to grow at this rate, we'll be 100 times the size next decade and 100 times the size the decade thereafter. The world will run on Cardano one day, and I believe one of the first continents to adopt Cardano in full and totally will be Africa. And by doing so, Africa could become one of the world's largest economies collectively, even larger than the European Union's aggregation of economies, the United States, and China's Belt and Road program. There's a long road ahead to get there. There are a lot of people that have to work together to make that happen. but we already see 1,000 flowers blooming. Some of the best entrepreneurs I've met have come from places like Burundi and Zanzibar and South Africa and Kenya and Nigeria and many other places throughout the continent. And some of the hungriest, most ambitious people I've met are there. They want to win. They want to change the world. And I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. Unfortunately, I've been to 13 places in the last 6 weeks, and I need a little bit of a break from traveling. But I'm glad I was able to join all of you digitally. And I hope that this inspires you and gives you some sense of passion that the future is going to be decentralized. And I hope you spend some time to look into the Cardano project and become part of it. We're always looking for more voices, more wisdom, and more capabilities. So thank you so much for listening. And I look forward to working with all of you and returning to Africa in 2025. Cheers.